Good morning, good morning. It's a week after the NEC, so it's Saturday the 1st of Feb, and I'm out on the trails. I'm going to go on a training run this morning, and I'd love you to come along because today I'm going to share with you what I learnt about running poles while working on the Harrier stand at the NEC.
I'm a very small channel myself.
And I'll give you several good reasons why you might want to consider them, but I'll also give you 3 reasons why I'm not using them today. And as you notice, easy to run past. You can see this little trail. That's clearly where quite large animals, perhaps, maybe muntjac deer would have come through there. There's about 10 metres of scrub between here and the road, so you got to think that's a place for deer or something like that to come out. Interesting. So then, poles, what's the fuss all about? Well, today I'm going to answer a few questions for you. First one is, do you need poles? Why you might consider them? Second one is, what sort of poles should you choose? How do you know they're the right poles for you? And then I'm just going to look at very quickly some basic technique on poles. This isn't going to be a how-to guide because other people way more experienced than me have done much better ones. It's just a starter for you. So first question then, why might you want to consider poles? That's because you have lots of muscles in your body, and generally for running you only use a few, and you train those few, but you also completely rely on those few. We massively rely on our glutes, our hamstrings and our quads. They're the big muscles that do the big work. But with any long run, and particularly apparently when you go up to marathon distance and ultra distance, leg fatigue is a serious problem for you. And poles can help stave that off by spreading the load across other muscles. Let me explain. So I've just been running up here. Heart rate's got much higher than I wanted it to for a long easy run. It's much more into tempo zone right now, so I'm just taking a quick walk to let it come down again, because tempo is not the point of today's run. And what I mean about the poles is that my arms are swinging. If I had poles that were just connected to the ground, and so every time my arms swung they actually just pushed the ground a little bit, and it took maybe 5-10% effort off my legs, would that be a good thing? Would it mean that my legs were 5-10% pressure? Well, do you know what? Maybe it would. Another reason you might want to use poles is for stability. If you're running up a hill, you know that your big muscles in your legs will be pushing you up that hill. But as all trail runners know, there's lots of muscles playing a real part in keeping your legs stable as well. Now, if you've got poles, therefore you've got potentially 4 points in contact with the ground, you can make that stability job easier. Which then means that those muscles in your legs aren't having to work so hard, which again keeps them fresher for later. And of course, coming down hills, you may find yourself feeling insecure. You might not want your feet to slip. It can be so confidence inspiring to have a long stick that you can help to support you as you go down very steep hills, or just take that extra pressure off your knees and your hips and your ankles, which then helps the aches and the pains stay away for longer, particularly the more mature runners. So there's the answer to the first question. Why should you consider poles? Firstly, you spread the load across different muscle groups, which should prevent fatigue. It also gives you a level of extra confidence and stability that should help you prevent aches and pains, or at least stave off the onset of fatigue and aches and pains, which might make all the difference. I am lucky, aren't I? So how do you choose the pole? Well, up to you really, but let me tell you what I've learned, personal opinions. Is there a difference between walking and running poles? So you can choose telescopic poles, and often walking poles are telescopic, but they tend to weigh more and not concertina, are not closed down to such a neat package. The most popular poles by far are what they call Z poles, and that's poles like these ones I've got from Harrier, where you do something to the pole and you can then fold it up 3 or 4 ways into something that's small, neat, tight, easily stowable. So that's the first part. What about what are the poles made of? Well, generally your choice is going to be aluminium or carbon fibre. Aluminium, strong but heavier than carbon fibre. Carbon fibre, lightweight, not quite as strong but very strong for its weight. Carbon fibre, slightly more expensive. Aluminium, slightly cheaper. So do you want a cheaper, slightly heavier, strong pole, or a slightly more expensive, lighter, not quite so strong pole? One of the other things between aluminium and carbon fibre is that if you get your pole stuck in a deep bog and lean on it, or you get it stuck between 2 rocks if you're working in mountains and you lean on it, carbon fibre doesn't bend, it'll snap, and then you're left with something that's useless, I'm afraid. Aluminium won't snap, it'll bend. You'll probably still need to replace it ultimately, but you've still got a pole that you can use for the rest of your journey in some form. I don't know if you can see them, but along the bottom of the hedge there's the whole rest of that flock, beautifully camouflaged. So the final thing, before I get to the reasons why I'm not using them today, was basic technique. And again, I'm talking very basic. As I don't have any poles to demonstrate, let me hand over again to Julian in the future to tell you about that. 3 points for you. The first point is with the handle. Don't come down through the handle and hold it, otherwise the tension in your hand will go all the way up your forearm and into your shoulder. Come up through the handle and come down so that the heel of your hand is taking the pressure. And then when you walk, you don't even need to hold the handle because the heel of your hand is taking all the pressure. Second game-changing point after hand up and through is make sure your poles are the right height. When you're standing with your pole, you want 90 degrees here when the pole is upright, or slightly less. We don't want it up here. We don't want a big walking stick. We want to be pushing back at 45 degrees to support what our legs are doing. So if it's upright at 90, when I'm walking, it will naturally go into the right place. But then how do you know what length you need? These are adjustable poles, which allows me to change it to get the right height, because I wasn't sure because I ordered them online. Having said that, written on here from Harrier is your height versus the height of the pole. So if you're kind of my height, 5'11", 6 foot, then, and you've got reasonable length arms, you may find that you want 120mm poles. If you're maybe 5 foot, you might want 105mm poles. If you're really not sure and you aren't able to look at the sizing chart on a website, then you can get adjustable poles. They're slightly heavier than non-adjustable poles, but they do give you a greater degree of flexibility or allow you to share your poles with somebody else. And the third point is, when you walk with it, make sure, or run with it, make sure that you are moving it at 90 degrees. We're not trying to place the poles in front of us and pull ourselves forward. We're trying to let the hamstrings and the quads and the glutes do that. What we're looking to do is support them on their way. So as we walk forwards, the poles are pushing backwards. So there we are. Now we'll go back to Julian in the past to tell you about the fourth thing that brings all of this together. If you're going to use poles, the most important thing is to practice with them. Get good at it. Don't buy yourself a pair of poles today and do an ultra with them tomorrow. Chances are you'll trip yourself up, you'll stab one of your fellow runners, you'll get frustrated trying to put them in and out of your pack and leave them in your pack when you should have got them out, and carry them in your hand when you should have put them away. So absolutely practice with them. And Harrier do a great course on how to be a pole pro. It's only 20 quid, a whole bunch of videos led by Harrier founder and director Kate Parker and Dan Summers, I think, who's well, they're both Nordic walking instructors with loads of hill and fell running experience. And I'm not trying to sell it, I'm just saying, if you want a completely unbiased, helpful set of videos, they're there. As I say, it's 20 quid, or else you get it free if you buy one of the Harrier Pro poles. So feel free to have a look at that if you want to know how to get the best out of your poles and how to practice. As I say, I'm just giving you a very small overview. All the gravel is stuck to the mud on my feet. It's quite funny. So let's go a little bit of road running now before the final few miles to home. Gives me a chance to clean off my shoes. So, why am I not using poles? 3 reasons I said I'd tell you. First reason is because I haven't practiced. I need to practice, and doing that on this particular run wasn't right. Secondly, I don't have enough upper body strength because I don't do any strength and conditioning. I can do 1 press up, so I need to do more of that. And the third thing is I'm currently holding a camera and I can't use poles and a camera at the same time. Morning. Now, I did watch a video with Wild Ginger Running where Claire found a way to do it. I think it was for the Dragon's Back or UTS Snowdonia. I'll have to look back on YouTube and find it. Oops. So I hope you've enjoyed this little summary of poles. I'll put links to all the things I said I'd put links to in the description. If you've enjoyed it, give it a like, a thumbs up, helping YouTube share it with other runners. And if you want to see more, particularly the Dartmoor Winter Traverse, 30k across Dartmoor in 3 weeks time, do hit subscribe and the notifications bell and you won't miss a thing. Because I've been stopping the watch to do some filming, I'll keep forgetting to start it again, so the actual details of today's run are a bit meaningless. it doesn't matter what's on Strava really. What matters is I know what I've done, I know how hard I've pushed myself, whether a dog poo, whether this has been a zone 2 run or not. It hasn't. There's quite a lot of endurance in it, mind, but also some tempo stuff, because I can't help myself. Something to work on, as well as working on my poles. I was thinking earlier how nice it was not to have to worry about all the nettles as I went through some of the scrubbier areas, but forgot about the brambles. They're still there. Lesson learnt. Here we are, there's the snowdrops heralding the start of spring. Thanks once again. Hope to see you really soon. Enjoy your running and take care. Ta-ra now.